everyone, welcome to part 2, and today we are covering number sense and numeration. Specifically, we are going to be covering fractions. So let's start with what a fraction is. If you take out your worksheet, we have the definition right at the top. So fractions are formed when we have a whole that is divided into many equal parts. So fractions are numbers that are written in two parts, a numerator and a denominator, separated by a line called a vinculum. So as you can see here, we have our numerator, we have our denominator, and we have our vinculum. So here we have 4 parts out of 7 parts. So that is kind of how we are looking at our fractions. There's always going to be a numerator, always going to be a denominator, and there's always going to be that vinculum in the middle. So just to be more specific in terms of the numerator and denominator, the top number, the numerator, says how many parts we have, and the bottom number, or the denominator, says how many equal parts the whole is divided into. So we are actually going to look at a couple different examples of fractions on here. So for example, here we have 1/2. As you can see, one of the halves is colored and one of them is not. So we have 1/2. So a whole divided into 2 equal parts. So one part is 1/2. Here, a whole is divided into 6 equal parts. And only one of the triangles in there is colored, which leaves us with a fraction of 1/6, because only one of the triangles out of the 6 parts that we divided that whole into is colored. Here, a whole divided into 10 equal parts, one part is 1/10. So here, as you can see, one part is 1 out of all the pieces we count. So we know that we have 1 colored, and then we have to count how many of the squares we have that we've divided. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hence 1/10. Okay, once we've gone over those, we have a couple more on the back side. So go to page number 2. So here, 4 parts are colored, and the whole has 4 equal parts. So this means that we have 4/4. So this can also be said as one whole, because our entire whole of the square is colored. Next, 3 parts are colored. There are 7 equal parts. So that leaves us with 3/7. So 3 out of a total of 7. So 3/7. And then our last part here, 2 parts are colored and the whole has 5 equal parts. So the shaded parts are 2/5. So 2 pieces colored out of 5 total pieces. So 2/5. So just look over those. Feel free to pause the video and just make sure that you understand how each fraction is represented and what they mean. Now, if you go right below that, there's some common names for fractions listed. So just go through, read those about 3 times, and then you will have a better idea of how to say fractions and speak how you need to in order to explain fractions properly. And once you're done that and have read through this list 3 times, we will move on to a word problem example. Okay, so here we have a word problem. It says, Timmy's mother bought 1 bag of flour, which weighs 10 pounds. She will use 3 pounds to make pancakes for breakfast the next day. What fraction of the bag of flour will she use to make pancakes? So we have to start with what we know. We have 1 bag of flour that can be divided into 10 equal parts for 10 pounds. So we would have 10 equal parts, and each one of those parts would be 1 pound because our bag is 10 pounds. So the other key piece of information that we know is that Timmy's mom is using 3 pounds of flour for pancakes. So with that knowledge, we know that our denominator, remember the number below the vinculum, is 10. And our numerator becomes 3, because that is how many parts of the whole we are actually using to make the pancakes, which would leave us with 3/10. So 3/10 of the bag of flour would be used to make pancakes. So that is kind of how you have to look at those word problems. You have to pull out the number that is how many equal parts our whole will be divided into. That becomes the denominator. And then the numerator becomes how many parts we actually use. So keep that in mind. We are going to practice this, I promise. I know it's tricky. So let's actually get into the practice. I hope that will make more sense when we actually get to use what we've learned. I want you to start with question 1. You're going to pause the video and go through this and try and answer the questions. But first you're going to color the parts to illustrate the fraction. So for example, number 1, we have 7/8. So 8 is the number of pieces we have here. So there's 8 pieces and we need to color 7 of them. So your numerator is how many pieces you're going to color. The denominator is the number of pieces total. So go ahead, color 7 pieces of our 8 total pieces, only 7. And you're gonna go through and do that for each one. Now, as you can see, each shape is not a rectangle. We have a couple different shapes. Don't let that intimidate you. You're still going to follow the same directions. Your numerator is how many pieces you're coloring of your total shape. Once you're done that, you're going to move on to number 2, and now the shapes are already colored for you, and you have to say what the fraction is. So for example, here, you're gonna count how many pieces we have in total. So 1, 2, 3. So 3 becomes your denominator. Now we have to look at how many are colored. Only 1 piece is colored. So that becomes your numerator. So then you would put a 1 at the top and a 3 on the bottom. So whatever is colored becomes your numerator, and the number of total pieces is your denominator. So go through and do number 2, pause the video, and then move on to number 3. So for the last part, we are going to actually look at fractions on a number line. So when you're looking at a number line, it's not really any different from a shape. It's just a different representation. So we're still looking at it as a whole piece and how many pieces it's divided into. So if you look at the number line on your page here, you don't want to count the little lines, you want to count the sections. So when we're looking at this, we want to count how many are colored. So we're counting the sections, remember? So we have 1, 2, 3 sections colored. And then we want to count how many total sections there are on our number line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 total sections and 3 of them are colored. So our fraction becomes 3/8. So now you are going to go through, and once again, you are looking at the number lines and picking out what the fraction is. So you are going to go through and do exactly what we just did in the example with the number line and do it here. So it's just like the shapes, but now it's just a different representation. So don't fear, try it, and I know you'll get it. And once you're done that, pause the video, and when you're ready, we can move on to the last portion of the worksheet before we get into the activity. So this last portion is just word problems like we did with the example with Timmy's mom making pancakes for breakfast. So this one, you're just gonna go through, you're gonna write out the fraction based on the different questions, and that's that. That is the activities for today, and now we are going to get into the activity. So before we get into the activity, hopefully your parents have picked one out, or maybe they'll let you choose. But there's two different movies that I have based the following assignment on. One is Spy Kids, and the other is Frozen. So when you're ready, let's get started. You have chosen the Spy Kids activity. Congratulations! You are the newest member of the OSS. Your first mission is to help Junie and Carmen locate their parents. All we know is that they were last seen being taken away by Floop and his Fooglies. You're being sent clues, but they are all in fractions. You will need to find each fraction in order to decode the messages and find Junie and Carmen's parents. You will need to use the chart on the last page in order to solve the clues. Locate the image that matches the fraction in your clue, and that is how you will get your answer. For clue number 3, you will need to solve the word problems and put them into a fraction. So you are going to need this last page. Each image links up with a letter that you are going to use to solve the clues. So if you have chosen this one, I am going to read the clues. Pause the video after each clue so that you can solve, and then we will move to the Frozen one. So clue number 1, to find their parents, you need to know where to look and where to go. There is one place, it's where I live, but the name is all I'll give. Find me here, but that is all. So solve the fractions and the truth is told. So now you are going to go to your chart and find the image that matches all of these fractions. And each one links with a different letter. So go through and solve where you will find Junie and Carmen's parents. Clue number 2. You found the place but not the room. So solve this clue and don't be blue. You're almost there in just a hair. Look to the chart and your fractions are fair. And clue number 3. One last task to get the code. Solve the problems and the spy bug is yours. Your getaway ship, it's almost yours. Can you solve this clue and get this score? So once you have completed clue 1, 2, and 3, congratulations, you've saved Junie and Carmen's parents and you're on your way home and you have escaped from Floop and his Fooglies, and now you are the newest member of the OSS. Now, if you chose the Frozen activity, you've been asked to help Princess Anna and Elsa to prepare for the coronation. You will need to help Kristoff get carrots to keep Sven busy, you will need to help Anna pick chocolates, and of course, you'll need to help Elsa find the code for her new ice castle. You will need to use the chart on the last page in order to solve the clues. Locate the image that matches the fraction in your clue, and that is how you will get your answer. For clue number 3, you will need to solve the word problems and put them into a fraction. So clue number 1, you need some carrots, but where to go? Will it be the forest or maybe at home? Decode the message to find the where, and Sven will be happy, and your best friend. So you are going to use this chart on the back, and you are going to look for the image that matches with the fraction listed on the page. Now, each image that matches with a fraction will give you a new letter. And once you find all of the fractions, you'll get your message and figure out what the first clue means. Clue number 2. Anna would like some chocolates for the guest, but there are so many to choose and each the best. Milk or dark or flavored too. Which ones will you help her to choose? And clue number 3. One last task to get the castle code, Elsa's new house is almost her home. Help solve the question to get the code, and Elsa can go live with the snow. So once you have solved all of the clues, you have helped Elsa and Anna prepare for the coronation, and they want to send you an invitation to the coronation as well for being such a help in getting everything ready. Elsa also wants to bring you on a tour of her new ice castle and maybe even sing Let It Go with you. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you learned a little bit about fractions today. If you do have time and your parents are allowing you to, enjoy watching the movies. And if you haven't seen the movies before, I hope you enjoy them. So have a great day, and thanks for checking out the video.